You are tuned in live to episode 8 of the Spots We Miss podcast and live talk with your host, Nikita Nicole. Today we're talking about being man. Special guest Demiso Arrington and Anthony Arrington will weigh in on that. Plus, we have a weekly pandemic report. Great news. All of our social platforms are in one place. Just click the link in the description box and you'll have access to our blog and podcast. Get ready for real talk, real ideas, and real love. You're tuned into the Spots We Miss. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Spots We Miss podcast and live talk. I'm your host, Nikita Nicole, and today we are talking about being man. We have special guests lined up who is going to talk about that. If you guys followed us for Being Woman, I said that we would talk to the men next, and that if we want to know what men think, we have to ask men because only men can tell us from their perspective. If you were with us last week, or the week before, we were talking about, so it's a little bit the same this week. It was a family affair on our last episode. My mom and her sister weighed in, and we really had some good conversation. And we are going to do this today again because it's also a family affair again. I have my precious, funny, loving uncle, and what can I say about this guy, this cousin of mine? Just an all around good guy, all around man. You would just love to be able to pick his brain sometimes because he always has good conversation. And our slogan is real talk, real ideas, real love, and we are going to be full of that on this episode. So before I get going with our guests, I want to invite you, every one of you who are watching us, to like our blog, our lifestyle blog. You can find that link in the description box. If you click on the link in the description box, all of our social platforms are in one place. So you can access our blog, you can access our podcast. You can also visit my store. I now have a merch store, and you can purchase t-shirts there and things like that. And so we want you to stay connected to us. And if we want you to share this podcast, tell people about it. I've got to get my followers up. So tell people about this podcast, share it, and like our platforms and engage with us. And those of you who are watching, thank you so much for tuning in with us every week. We certainly do appreciate it. We don't take it lightly. We see you in our making comments on our blog posts and just interacting with us, and we certainly do appreciate that. So without further ado, we are going to go ahead and get ready and introduce our guest. And let me just tell you a little bit about the reason why we wanted to do this in the first place, because we had 3 episodes of Being Woman. We had 3 episodes of Being Woman, and when we did the first episode of Being Woman, we said this is just not enough. We need to talk about more. So then we talked about menopause and all of the things that women go through, the emotional, the mommyhood, the whole thing. And so we want to get into that as well. And I believe that our guests are going to be great at contributing to this conversation. So like I said, without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Anthony Arrington into the stream, as well as Demiso Arrington. Hello and welcome, men.
Hey.
Thank you so much for joining the Spots We Miss. I hope you all won't be strangers and come back. So you know what? Let's just start off. Let me just say that Demiso Arrington is in the greater Georgia area, and he is a father. He is a community man. He is he's loves to give. He loves to find community giving projects, and he is also protecting families. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later in the episode, because I really want to let you all know what he's doing. But he is a tell us about the. I'm going to let you go ahead and take over, because I also want you to tell people about what you are doing with Rampart.
Okay. Well, hey, well, thanks, Nikita. First, thank you for the platform. We enjoy seeing it grow. We enjoy the reach that we see is getting to, as well as what we can
Yeah.
foreshadow. So I appreciate actually being here on the platform in the, I don't know if you even want to call it the infant stages, but I just know it's going to get bigger and better. So let's go with that.
Yeah.
Um, just a little bit. I'll touch on what I'm actually doing myself. I am a life insurance broker in the greater Atlanta or the Atlanta metro area. I also work throughout the state, as well as being licensed in Michigan, Alabama, and Ohio. Florida and Texas are coming next, but that's about as much as we can talk about now until Florida actually opens up. And what my focus
Awesome.
is with life insurance is twofold. I have a practical side of life insurance. Everyone should have life insurance. Every family should be plugged into life insurance, and life insurance should be a family norm outside of just what our family needs, or our own individual needs to bury us, or take care of our final expense. We should leverage life insurance for every expense that we have, to make sure that our family members aren't burdened with trying to take care of us, as well as trying to pay bills and worrying about if we're going to lose the house, and things like that. That's a really tough place to be.
Mhm.
So my initial focus is to make sure that every family that I help. You make sure you protect them to be able to not worry about all of the other stresses of life, and to focus on grieving and celebrating the life that transitioned. The second
Mhm.
piece of it is, I mean, you know how I am, you know how I was raised, and everything that I do is going to be for the community, especially our community. Um,
Right.
the second part of that, or the second focus of that, is to educate our community on uh, how life insurance works in a practical sense, as well as a vehicle to use to break generational curses and create generational wealth.
Mhm.
A lot of times we think about things in transactional means, like, okay, well, say for instance, I leave here. My son, without any education, my son would try to figure out how much it would cost to take care of my final expenses, and that would be it. Whereas when I do leave here, I'm set up pretty well to where uh, my son is taken care of, my daughter is taken care of. We factored in college, we factored in a maintenance income, like a monthly
Mhm.
maintenance income, to take care of her until she's out of college, like that 23, 24 year old time span, and just things
Yeah.
like that, to leverage it. And then the and I'm not gonna be long. It's the financial asset aspect of actually having life insurance. Some life
Mhm.
insurance policies, you can access the cash value in that policy to start a business, or use for educational funds, or to even start an annuity or start another stream of income.
Yeah.
pretty much you're ended up borrowing from yourself, and everything still stays in place. They call it more or less infinite banking, but I don't like to use those terms. It's just another way to leverage an asset.
To
Every
have money when you need it, if you need
well,
it.
when you need it, but also you should have you should be mindful of the fact that that's an asset, so you can tap into it for
Mm,
whenever you need it and for whatever your aspirations are. You shouldn't have to sit at home and you have a, like say a fire to start a business inside of you, and you can't feed that flame that's inside of you because you don't know where the money's coming from. All of the while you're sitting on maybe $150 or $200,000 whole life policy that you can access the cash value from.
okay,
Just
got
trying to
you.
make it a little bit smarter about uh, insurance, and a little bit smart about how we manage our wealth, because we can literally, with life insurance just as a stepping stone, you can literally pull your family, your entire family, out of financial bondage and start building on generational wealth.
Thank you. Um, Anthony Arrington, how are you on this fine day? I cannot hear you. I could hear you fine during sound check. Are you on mute? I could hear him fine on sound check.
Oh yeah.
Well, we will let him get himself together and he will be rejoining us soon. Um, but so here's the thing. One of the reasons why I said that this will be a good conversation to have with men is
Okay, how
because,
about now?
oh, you're with us again. Yes.
I'm back.
I was just saying that one of the reasons that I thought that this would be good um, to talk to men is because sometimes women want to pick men's brains too. And sometimes we want to know what you guys are thinking about things about life and just in general. So, Uncle, if you could tell us a little bit about you and what you've got going on and what's up with you these days, and just introduce yourself to our viewers and listeners.
Well, I'm Anthony, Nikki's uncle. Thank you for everybody that's tuning in to support her and her venture, Hippie Doo Dah Productions, which is great. Um, my Wikipedia page wouldn't be as long as my nephew's over there. I ain't got that much going on. It wouldn't be that much. I'm just a regular guy, but I, I'm from Detroit. I live in Charlotte now, Charlotte, North Carolina. It's great here. I love it. It's super
Mhm.
hot, but for the most part, this is a great city. I'm a father. I'm a grandfather. I'm a brother. Um, a boyfriend. Hopefully, I'm just trying to find my way through life, man, and stay on the right path. I've taken the wrong path a few times in my life, but now I'm on the right path. I just noticed that I found my I found my most clearest time when I was in my darkest. You know, that's when I got my true clarity, when I was in my darkest time in my life. That's when I realized that, I have to stay in the light. You know what I mean? The
Mhm.
darkness is, it's not a good place for me. I don't think it's a good place for anybody. But that's when I
Yeah,
realized, when I was at my lowest, that's when I got the total clarity of what I needed to do in life. And I'm following that path, and so far it's going pretty good.
I love it. I love it. And I just, when I remember when you moved to North Carolina, and I felt a little jealous because it's so beautiful there, and it just seems like it's always sunny there. And I said I wanted to visit North Carolina, but you brought up something that you said about just walking in the light and how you found clarity in some of those dark moments. if you all tuned into episode 1 of the Spots We Miss, it was our episode was called "Are You Playing Hurt?" And I remember when we started talking about that, people were asking me. They were saying, well, "What do you mean? What do you mean? Are you playing hurt?" And I said, "Well, I needed to clarify it." And I was thinking about athletes and injuries, and uh, I just remember when I was going through a really, really tough time. And I just remember God speaking clearly to me and saying that what you're experiencing are injuries. And I said, injuries? How? And injuries that life gives us, even if they are self inflicted injuries, okay, they're still injuries. And what happens is we often pick up and go on. We say, okay, that happened. I accepted that. You made the necessary adjustments, but the truth of the matter is there was some emotional trauma with that, right? There was some
Mhm.
emotional scarring with that.
Mhm.
And we found out that we were playing hurt like athletes play hurt. We found out in our relationships because it came up, right? When you have scars and when you have things that happen, like, okay, so I got past that, but that affected me, and I'm taking some of that, with me,
Mhm.
and it comes out in different areas, and that's why that first episode was, are you playing hurt? Just and talking about ways how to take better care of ourselves, talking about ways to cope with a lot of the stuff that we've been through, and to really be good to ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of us, to a large degree, a lot of us are out here and we're playing hurt a little bit, but we're still in the game. Don't count us out, right?
Right.
That's
That's right.
We're
right.
still
That's
in the
right.
game. We're in the game. Don't count us out. But yeah, we had some scarring. Anybody can add into any of that, because that's what I really wanted. I want to hear the men's version of that playing hurt piece.
Well, I can say, I played her for a lot of years. I really have. I've had relationships that suffer because of things that happened to me in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, I know deep down inside that that's not right. It's not right to make someone else suffer for something that somebody else did to you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really wrong. But it's a lot of times pride comes into play when you're in relationships.
Yeah.
It really does. People can say it don't, but it does. You get
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
into an argument with your girl, y'all arguing about something. You want to apologize, but your pride comes in. Well, I'm not going to apologize. Let her apologize. When all you got to do is be the bigger person and just go ahead. It's okay to apologize. You know
Yes.
what I mean? It takes a big person to admit they're wrong and apologize for something. It's not bad, to do that. And I've, a lot of relationships that I've had have suffered because of things that's happened to me. This person had nothing to do with it, but they suffering along with me because something happened to me. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm fighting now that I'm older, and I'm trying to be more mature, and I'm fighting to get out of that. You know what I'm saying? Stop making other people suffer for something that happened to me that they had nothing to do with.
I like that.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's
real.
now that right there, that's grown man stuff right there.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
real.
Mm-hmm. To me so.
Yeah, I was thinking like when you mentioned playing hurt, from an athletic standpoint, sometimes athletes play hurt, but also athletes get used to playing hurt or get used to the pain. Thinking back on some of my stuff, there was a lot of playing with the pain. Like I'd get hurt and I'd act or react a certain way, which was what the process was telling me to do at that moment. Like, hey, look, you don't need anger in this situation. You need to figure out why this is bothering you, address the fact that it's bothering you, and work on healing. But
Mm-hmm.
even with that, I was still playing with the pain. So there would be certain instances where something might have happened and it made me make an adjustment. So instead of being my authentic self or moving in my authentic confidence, I would go ahead and maybe cut something back or hold something back or try to find another route around something so that way I wouldn't rock the boat. The best
Yes.
argument, you can have is the argument you don't have to have, right? So it was always well, I want to keep the peace, so let me, do this way, or let me hold back this way, and then you try to justify it, which is the plan with the pain. You try to justify it as, hey, well, I don't want to have a fight. It's better to keep the peace. I'd rather pick my battles and save, the big fight for when I need a big fight. This one, it really don't need, the big fight or whatever. And in the short term, it served me. But in the long term, I started feeling myself chip away bit by bit. I started to notice that some things that, I would never allow to slide and that I was raised to never allow to slide,
Yeah.
I started to compromise, not because it was the right thing to do, but I just didn't feel like having that fight,
You know what?
and
That's
I think that's the
interesting.
seesaw. Oh, go
Hmm.
ahead.
That's interesting that you say that, because a lot of times when we talk about, okay, playing hurt, a lot of times we are quiet. We don't want to rock the boat, but we really injuring ourselves even the more.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Because sometimes you don't want to. You're like, okay, well, should I say anything about that? Well, I don't really want to deal with that. And then when you finally do have to deal with it, it's worse. It's it's way gone. It's above you. And that's the thing about the
That's,
reason why I use that analogy, playing hurt, because what we know and what we have seen in the NBA, we've seen it in the NFL, is that what ends up happening when athletes, like you said to me, so they get used to playing hurt, they get used to the playing, but it ends their career ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
And that's the
And that's the
detriment
part.
about it. That's the
Yeah,
detriment of
that's the part that I was actually trying to get to, is that, I got so comfortable with picking which battles to fight and things like that, that I didn't notice that everything else was crumbling around it. And when I did notice, I immediately went into, okay, well, I need to fix this, I need to fix that, I need to shore up, my position here. But it was already past the point of, well, you kind of let, it's almost like if you let one thing slide, it'll slide forever. So I can't go back and correct something that I had allowed for a prolonged period of time.
it.
Then that becomes another argument, another point of contention, and
Hmm.
that creates more injuries until you get to a point to where you either explode because you don't feel as if your impact has an impact, or you fall back, into yourself and you just get quiet, and it's kind of like a slow death. You wait for stuff to end itself so you don't have to end it.
Hmm.
And that could be
Hmm.
that could be anything: business, relationships,
Hmm.
how you are at work. It's just you get to a point to where it's like, well, I've allowed it for this long. Maybe I should just go ahead and let it die, or you
Hmm.
go ahead and assert yourself, and that creates a bigger issue. Because it's by your right that you assert yourself, but by you
Right.
not doing it in the beginning, or by you not being consistent with it, it automatically turns into another point of contention, another battle that you have to have.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, because if you said that if you don't let it go, it'll just keep going on. I think that our relationships, all of our relationships, and you guys let me know, how you feel about that. But I think all of our relationships can be salvaged,
Mm-hmm.
protected, and covered by having the hard conversations as soon as the offense occurs.
Yes.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yes. Yes.
I
Major
agree
love.
because I feel like this: if you let, if you don't have that hard conversation right at that moment and get it out, it's going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to grow until when you have to have another conversation, it's going to just explode because you haven't resolved the first you haven't resolved the first issue. So when you
Exactly.
have, so when you come to another issue, it's going to just be, it's probably going to be more than it should have been. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? If you would have
Yeah.
took care of it, if you would have took care of it from the, from the beginning, the next incident might not be as bad. But if
Might
you
not have been
don't,
as bad.
yeah. But if you don't, then it's gonna just, relationships for me. And look, I'm by no means an expert on relationships. I'm just, let me throw that out. Trust me, trust me on that. But for me, relationships have to be the the first thing you need in a relationship for me is trust. I
Yeah.
mean, love and sex and all that other stuff is great. But if you don't have trust in a relationship, it is not gonna last. For me,
Mhm.
I've got trust issues like you wouldn't believe. Believe me. And I'm in a relationship right now with someone that is great. I mean, I actually love this person, but I can tell that our relationship suffers because of me.
Hmm.
And I'm trying to rectify that. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, I don't want to lose this person, but the things of my past, you know what I mean? My trust issues, like sometimes I let them overwhelm me, and it turns out, that I can create all kinds of stuff in my head because of my past. You know what I mean? And
I do.
yeah, and I'm working on that. I really am. I'm working on it. I might not be working on it as fast as some would like, but I'm at
Yeah.
least trying to work on
Right. Right.
To me, so can you speak to that and what? So two things that as he was speaking, I thought about because and that's why this is what I think as a woman. I think that men need to be able to trust, and I think that once the man trusts the woman, that is the level where something can actually happen between them that is really good.
it. Absolutely, absolutely.
But I would have to ask you, yes, I would have to ask you to be so. Two things. I want you to speak to two things, and then we're going to go into our pandemic report. But two things. How do you deal with um, when you don't trust, um, and you know it's you, and then there's no this person hasn't given you a reason to not trust, but you just kind of like it's a you thing, right? And
Mhm.
it's not a them thing, right? Um, what's something that what you can do to help yourself in that part, and then I guess the other part of that is with men. How big is trust with men with women? And I'm not even talking about I trust you not to cheat on me because
Right. Right.
I think that a man has to trust a woman with his heart. So how important is that?
Well, that's okay. So I guess to answer both of those questions, uh, in a complete way, I guess would be trust is major because trust to a man is a form of respect, and respect to a man is how a man
Everything.
receives love, how a man sees love, like the way a man would like shower a woman with attention and affection and words of affirmation to show how much he loves her. The same thing that she feels when that man shows love is the same thing that a man would feel when a woman shows and showers him with respect. um Respect is major. Respect is major, and if you respect the man, then you can see that trust is there. If you don't have trust as a man, that's a red flag for us to say, well, I don't see any trust there, but it translates to I don't see any respect. So it's you kind of get into a space of where you wondering what are we doing, and if you don't have that trust, now in the past when I didn't have that trust, I would try to figure out why. In my youth, I try to figure out why I wasn't receiving that type of respect, why I didn't see that type of trust. But now, after a few things and a few failed relationships, a failed marriage, and things like that, I see it as I don't measure trust based off of how it's delivered. I measure trust based off of how that woman moves. If she trusts me, she's gonna trust me. But if she trusts me, she's gonna respect me. And it's not like a tyrant type thing or anything like that. It's just a I mean, it could be as simple as, hey, Demiso, I really respect you and the man that you are. Or it could just be, I know you got us, and that's a form of respect. Now, with that, I will also add that I check that trust and that respect by having and encouraging boundaries, which are major.
Ah,
A woman should have her boundaries, a man should have his boundaries, and we should have that hard conversation initially, like from the gates. What we accept, what we don't accept, what we gonna work through. And those are the boundaries. Like take football for instance. I catch a ball on the right side of the field, and I step out of bounds. I'm out of bounds. The play stops, right?
yes,
The play stops. If I stay within bounds, then the play can continue. The play can develop. It can do whatever. Liken that to a relationship. If I do something that's out of bounds for what our boundaries are, what we agreed on, things like that, I should uh, be checked on that, and vice versa.
I love the sports analogies. You can fill me up with those. I mean, because like when you break it down in that sports area, it hits, and I get it. Go ahead and continue. I have a question. I have a question from someone from our audience that
Okay.
they ask you guys when we come back. But finish your thought, Denise, and then we're going to head into our pandemic report.
Yeah, well, what I was just I can wrap it up here. It was just, you have to be allowed to have boundaries, and you have to be mindful in the relationship to hold who you're with accountable to holding those boundaries. And accountability needs to be a personal thing. Like
Mhm.
I can't hold you accountable if I'm not holding myself accountable, and vice versa. That's the only way it will work. Mutual respect, mutual trust, and a respect not just of persons, but a respect of the boundaries that bring y'all together and keep you together. I think
Yeah.
all of those things would translate into, I guess, what we would call in the modern world commitment.
Yes. Thank you for that. I appreciate that input, and I'm sure that people who are listening will too. Every episode, we like to cover the pandemic report, and I consider it a check-in, uh, check on people, how they feel about the pandemic. We are now, woo, we're about 20, 21 or 22 months into this thing now, and
Mm-hmm.
wow, is all I can say. It's we it has really changed us and how we live, do business, how we shop for food, how we do everything now. And in the United States, COVID is still major. It's still a whole situation. And in Michigan, we are now up to 1,054,709 confirmed cases of COVID 19. We
Wow.
have
Wow.
21,520 deaths in Michigan. And we have over 15 million people who have been tested for coronavirus, and the positivity of those tests is right at 7%. With regard to the vaccine, we had 10,131,404 um, doses, and 5 million people have been vaccinated, and our total our population is 50%, and health professionals have said that we need to be at least 70% or 75% to feel a little bit more comfortable um, around the world. And even in the United States, we are still at about 53% of the population that has been vaccinated. 79% would be great if we could get up to 79%.
Yeah.
How so? Tell me, how has the pandemic um, affected you guys?
Well, for me, I don't like to do a whole lot. I mean, I'm a little leery of it because I'm older. You know what I mean? And I'm just
Mhm.
saying, man, I used to do a lot. I used to run around, go to restaurants, and be here and be there. Now
Mhm.
I don't like to do all of that. You know,
Yeah.
it's really slowed down a lot. It's like even slowed down my relationship a lot. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because me and my
Hmm.
girl used to, like, before the pandemic, like we were always out. You know, we was out enjoying life, and she still likes to do, some stuff, but I just don't. You know what I mean? I don't like being around a large crowd of people
Yeah.
right now with this going on. And you know, I understand you can put your mask on, you can do all these things that's supposed to help you, but I just feel like you can never be totally safe from it if you're out, if you're
Mhm.
just totally out and about. I just feel like you're not totally safe, until I don't think it's ever gonna be back to normal
Me
again.
neither. Me
I
neither.
mean, I was just thinking about that. I went to the dollar store earlier and I had my mask on and everything. And as I went to leave out, I touched the door just to open the door to go out. And automatically my brain is like, damn,
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
what if the
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
before you touch the door, they
Yes.
got COVID? I'm in the
Yeah.
car with the hand sanitizer. My girlfriend, she rubs it on the steering wheel. I'm rubbing the steering wheel. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
it just goes through your mind. And I didn't want to take the vaccine because I thought they developed it too quick. But as the second strain that came around now, and it's just so much. I went and got the shot, and I got one more to take, and as
Okay.
soon as he pushed it in my body, you know what I mean. As soon as he put the needle in my arm and pushed it in, I was like, oh shit. I mean, oh shoot, like what if you know am I gonna get COVID now? But I mean, life goes on, man. We have to live, but it has affected the way I do things a lot.
To me, so.
Yeah, I've been seeing a couple things with that kind of bother me. How it makes me feel. It kind of feels like I don't know. You ever remember that movie Logan's Run?
Absolutely, yeah, I do.
Yeah, so okay, so I can liken it to that a little bit. They were all living until they got to 30, and then they said 30 was too old and they would like exterminate the population or whatever. Uh,
Yeah,
Right.
but Logan and his girlfriend decided they didn't want to, end their life at 30, so they took off,
so they took off.
and they started running so that they could stay alive. That's exactly how I feel with COVID-19. Like I've been fully vaccinated since my birthday this year. Um, and and I didn't broadcast it just because, I don't want to go back and forth. My whole picture on that is if you vaccinated or you not vaccinated is your personal choice, but you just have to deal with what you deal with, whatever comes with that choice that you make. So, You know, I'm not the type of person to be like, oh, you need to go and get a shot. No,
Right.
that's me, because I can't breathe a day of your air and live a day of your life. But
Yeah.
like I've been trying to outrun this pandemic, and whenever it gets to a point where I feel some sort of comfort, because for the most part, you know, you feel a heavy bit of anxiety. I mean, your chest get tight, and you get a shortness of breath, not from COVID, but you get a shortness of breath because of anxiety. Like you don't know who, just like Uncle Tony say, you know, you go out and you touch a door, and it's like, you know, man, did I just bring COVID into my house? But it's a door, but it's like, you know,
Yeah.
you got high anxiety. Um, so I'm constantly moving, and just when you feel like you made it to a place to where you can feel good, like okay, well maybe we getting this thing under control. All of a sudden, there's a Delta variant or something like that, and it bothered me for the majority of the year. Uh,
Mhm.
because I found COVID. My first experience with COVID, I was in Albany, Georgia, and let me say it right for all the Georgians, Albany. But I was Albany. They you know they gotta say it like they from Georgia, Albany. But I was there that week that the family had went to a funeral, and that entire family caught COVID, and it filled up the hospital down in Albany, Georgia,
Mhm.
to where they had to start sending people to the Atlanta Metro and the Columbus and you know, other hospitals like that, because they were just at capacity. That was February of 2020. And it felt like I've been running ever since, but that cripples me because I like to go, you know, I'm social. I like to go out to
Yeah.
uh, open
Mhm.
open air music show, music concerts. You know, go sit on the lawn. I like to go to concerts indoors. I like to have kickbacks over at the place, so that way, you know, a bunch of grown people can get together and, you know, share some food, have some drinks, play some taboo or some jingo, whatever. You know, I like to interact with people, and I haven't been able to do that.
Yeah.
Uh, and then also, there was a point where I didn't see my kids for like 5 months
Mhm.
because I was still at AT&T. I was a you know, an essential worker,
Mhm.
and you know, I would come home, and you have to go through the whole ritual of, you know, getting undressed outside and then coming
Yeah.
in, going straight to the shower,
Mhm.
garbage bag in your clothes and stuff like that, to where I just felt that it was putting my kids at too much of a risk for me to even come home from work. uh,
Mhm.
Fast forward to now, uh, it's that same anxiety. I can deal with it a little bit better, but that Delta variant kind of has me thinking, well, I've been vaccinated. I've got that first vaccination, but does that vaccination fit this
What's
mutation
that?
that's
Yeah.
here now?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So you got a lot going, and then Kyla's back in school now. They back in person school. They have to wear masks all day, and you just hear all of the reports from everywhere else that's not even uh, an hour away from where I'm at now, and they're already closing schools and putting kids back in virtual because of so many positive COVID cases. So
Yeah.
it's a bear to deal with. I'm a little bit better at dealing with it, but it's a lot to handle, and it's still something to have, you know, a high concern about. You know,
It's quite an adjustment. It really
yeah,
is. It's quite an adjustment. And as you were speaking, I was just thinking when you were saying concerts, I'm like, man, I find myself. This is how I think just one of the ways that COVID has affected me. I find myself missing things that I probably didn't think about a lot before, and I think that
right.
we take things for granted because we're like, well, I can always go to the concert. I can always go to the fireworks. I can always do this.
Mhm.
But then COVID comes and it's like, oh man, I miss going to concerts on the grass and sitting on the grass. And I probably wouldn't have thought about that this year or last year if COVID wasn't a hit because I just took for granted that when I wanted to go to a concert, I could. You know what I mean? But now
Right.
you can't. And then I've been noticing the shift with uh, the division between people who are vaccinated and not vaccinated. You know, you get the
Mhm.
people who are vaccinated and they judge the people who are not vaccinated, or you get the people who are not vaccinated and thinking like, I just can't believe they're going to get vaccinated with something that was created so fast, or and then there is this division, and it's
Mhm.
I think that COVID has really just placed a strain on just even stranger relationships. You know, that friendliness that you have with a stranger in the store,
Right.
smile, we see people, and I've been guilty of it too. They don't have a mask on. I'm moving out of their way, and
Yeah.
it's kind of obvious that I did it, and I'm like, oh, I got
Yeah.
that. I shouldn't. I got to be careful. Do you know what I'm saying? And
Oh yeah.
it's just created so much
But this is
division.
I I just want to ask this. Do you see the people who are driving in their cars and they're
With
in the
masks
car
on.
and they're by themselves and they got a mask on? I pulled up to this car. Nobody's in the car. And she had a mask on, and I just wanted to ask her, why do you have your? But I mind my own business, but I don't. That part I don't get.
I've said that. I've said that. And for whatever reason, I see it where I live at a lot. And I'm like, is there something that I'm missing? Is there something I
Yeah.
don't know? What is up with that? I find that so strange.
No, maybe I thought, well, maybe she went to the grocery store and she got her bags and she don't know if her bags got COVID. So she put her mask on. But I'm just like, why you in there by yourself with your mask? I don't know. I guess.
Oh
I mean,
my God.
whatever makes a person feel safe. Okay, whatever makes you
Right.
feel safe.
Whatever makes a person feel safe, and you know what? I never want to seem to, judge people for
Right,
whatever it
right.
is, that they do or whatever. But it is funny though, Uncle. It is. I have to
I
admit,
mean,
and I'm like, I'm laughing about it because I'm like, but is someone in the car that I don't know about? And it's so interesting too, because I also one of the things that I've also noticed is that people have their mask on, but it's all the way down here, and it's like it's not really even on. And then you have to really check yourself and say, okay, that's not for you to judge that.
Right.
you have to.
Right.
I mean, you
You
kind of got to
gotta.
check yourself, but you're still just like, just take it off. You
You
can just
got.
take
You
it
gotta
off.
let. You gotta let people. You gotta let people be where they at. You know what I mean? That's.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You
Because some people may have breathing issues or whatever. You just don't know.
know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
we have to give people grace in this pandemic. So I
Yes.
want to
Exactly.
so every year I do something, and it's called Nikita's Pull Up and Serve.
Mhm.
I've been doing this for the past 4 years now. Yeah, and what we do, and prior to the pandemic, when we would do things like I would have people donate purses to me and fill them up with stuff that women need that are on the
Right.
streets, women on the streets, and even men too. And we would do the hand warmers for people, for the men who were living on the streets, and the foot warmers and things like that. But then when COVID hit, it became important for us to pass out face masks and things like that
Mhm.
with food that we were doing. And so this year, and we did it in June of last year, and this year we did it actually today. And a lot of people, if you're familiar with the homelessness in Detroit, you know that in our city, the Cass Corridor is kind of like a meeting place or a stumping ground for so many people who don't have a place to live.
Right.
And last year, when we went down there to pass out, we did hot dinners. Mom and I did hot dinners. Mom is my writer in this whole thing. Mom and I did hot dinners last
Shout
year.
out to Shirley Arrington.
Yes, Arrington, certainly.
Yeah.
So, we, but when we went last year, we could not find them in the Cass corridor, and it became apparent to us really quickly that COVID had displaced a lot of the people, and they even had shut one center down because of a breakout,
Mhm.
there. And so I called around and I called around to find out where are these people. And I found out that some of them were displaced at another location. And I called the Neighborhood Service Organization. A lot of people know them as NSO. They are a resource to the city,
They are.
not in just in homelessness, but so many social services that people need.
Mhm.
And she told me, she said, this is where they're located. And I said, well, we just want to bring some snacks. We want to bring a brown paper bag lunch um, to the location. And so that's what we did today. We went to NSO and we took, mom and I took sandwiches. We took snacks, chips and muffins and just all of that. And we had Intiman's Bakery. They donated to Nikita's Pull Up and Serve, and they provided us
Oh,
with
nice.
bread. I mean, people don't really know when you're making sandwiches for over 50 people how many loaves of bread that is. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And that's something that I would pay out of pocket, you know. But this time I didn't have to pay for an ounce of bread, and that's all due to what Intimates gave us. And they gave us donuts and chips, and I mean, just they were just like, take your pick. So I want to show you guys just a little video of what mom and I did. And you know what? And last night, Tekesa and Logan were over here piling bags up with us too.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
nice.
Yes, they
Yeah,
were.
get him started early. Yeah, get him started early.
Lord.
Absolutely. It's important to expose kids to that type of stuff, but because that's
Hmm.
that's a memory. I always tell Tekesa when she's doing stuff with Logan, I'm like, you're creating memories.
Yeah.
Yep,
He's
creating
Yeah,
he's
memories.
so
So
yeah, and
yeah,
he growing from a boy into a man. So you got to put, hey, he need to be in the street. You need to be in the street the right
yeah.
way. Get your hands to
Be
work.
absolutely,
outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
absolutely. All right, and then I just want our viewers, if you're just tuning in, for those of you who are just tuning in, we are going strong with conversation. We're talking to men about men and how men are experiencing some of the same things that we as women sometimes go through, but how they experience it and how they internalize it. And we're gleaning from the men today, and I certainly do appreciate that. So I want to let those of you who are viewing and watching us, Deniso Arrington, he's in the Georgia area, but he is covering families with life insurance. And I just want to make sure that you all have his contact information so that you can reach out to him. And sometimes a consultation, if you missed the first part of the hour where he was really talking about the benefits of life insurance, uh, I'm going to go ahead and show his contact information if you want to talk to him about a quote, a consultation, or anything. And if you also are in the Georgia area or in the Michigan area and you've been thinking about selling life insurance, what's that website, Deniso?
Wannaworkwithme.com.
Yes.
I start everybody off at 100% commission, which is unheard of, and the only thing that could stop you from working is a lack of effort. So if you come full of effort, I got a place for you.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. So I have a question. Listen, I have a comment box over here and it's blowing up. Okay. And one of the questions uh, So Deb from Community Advocate Network, she has a podcast. Deborah Mitchell, she has a podcast, and her page is called the Community Advocate Network. And I know both of you would be interested in a lot of the conversation and dialogue she's having because not only is she talking to you about current events, but she's also talking to you about bills that are passed that affect Black men when we are being stopped by police and we are seeing so much inequity and discrimination in our criminal justice system and law enforcement as it pertains in regards to in regards to Black men.
Mhm.
And Deb covers that on the Community Advocate Network. She talks a lot about that, a lot about legislation. She has a website. Deb, if you could post your website so that I can let people know what your website is in the comment box, because I really want people to know about this resource. She has social services resources that is so crucial and that we need to know. Is specifically this new bill, the new bill, the police bill that came, and she specifically kind of laid out some things that we needed to know about that bill. So it's important to have a resource like that, especially for us.
Mhm.
Um, but her question to you guys was, she says, "Hello, everyone. I would like to ask the panel how well they are able to gauge a woman who has been hurt when they encounter her."
Oh, that's a good question. That is a
Well,
good question.
Ooh, who wants to
I
go first?
I think you can gauge a woman to know if she's been hurt really by the way she treats you. You know what I mean? By how open she is with you. If she seems closed off, if you're giving 100% maximum effort, but she's still not, you know what I mean? She's still not responding to that because of being hurt.
Yes.
She might be just a little bit standoffish, trying to figure out if this is genuine, if you're a genuine person, or if you're just one of them guys who just, if you just out for what you out for. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Women that's been hurt, it takes a while for a person to chop down those weeds. It takes a while to
Mhm.
tear down that wall. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because
Yeah.
nobody wants a person that's been hurt doesn't ever want to feel that kind of hurt again. You know what I mean? If
Mhm.
you've been hurt by someone, your main objective is to never feel that again if you can help it.
If you can help it.
That's right.
Yeah. So you can tell if you feel like, well, I'm doing everything right, I'm being good to her, I'm texting back when she texts, and I'm doing everything right, but she still is not responding because she's
Mhm.
not, you know what I mean? She just feels like, well, this might not be what it seems to be. You know what I
Yeah.
Mhm.
mean? And nobody wants to feel that pain of being hurt.
Mhm.
It's almost worse than a bullet to the head, man. Believe me, that for someone to really hurt you and break your heart, it's a horrible feeling. I've had it done to me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's awful. It's horrible, man.
Mhm. Denise
Yeah, no,
Allen.
I okay, so I've been fortunate enough, as y'all know, I've been fortunate enough to have been surrounded my entire life by strong men and women who consistently speak life into me. So I listen for when I do meet a woman, or have interest in a woman, or it's just a conversation. I listen for how she speaks life into the men that are in her life, or at least how she speaks about them. Like I'm real quick to ask somebody about, hey, how many brothers or sisters you got? You still got a good relationship with your dad? Is your dad still with us? Things like that. And I just listen. I think that's the biggest part is that, sometimes as men, we want to have our game. We want to throw that game out and try to wow you with a bunch of words, but uh as most of the time as men, sometimes we just need to shut up and listen. Like, ask a question, be quiet, be patient, and let that answer come out. So I ask a woman, about, tell me about these men, or tell me about the men in your life, and I listen to how her speak life is.
Yeah.
Is she dogging them, or does she, talk about them with less respect or whatever? And like I say, I mean, all of my mom, my aunts on both sides of the family, my grandmothers, I mean, all of those women, those dynamic women, always spoke life into me.
Mm-hmm.
Even when it
Yeah.
hurt, they said
Mm-hmm.
when they said it coming from a place of, who you are, be who you are, we support that. Right.
Yeah.
So I listen
Yeah.
for that. And if I hear a lacking, or if I hear, that lack in some type of way, then I can identify. Sometimes I can even identify where that hurt is, but I can identify if a woman has been hurt, and how long a woman dwells on that hurt, tell me
Mm-hmm.
how deep or how significant that hurt was. And then after that, it's just a matter of being patient, and not rushing anything. Make your intentions known, but you know you don't you don't mash the gas on uh,
Mm-hmm.
what you want. You kind of let that develop, because you may end up with somebody who's not ready for you,
Mm-hmm.
and the way that they're healing might not be set up to where it needs to be with you. So, that's a
Okay.
I
Okay.
could give you a whole 10 years of history on that. But
Okay. Okay.
so yeah,
So,
that's it.
so you said something, and for me as a woman, it is so important for me when I'm meeting someone or dating someone. I want to know how they, do they have a relationship with their mother? I want to know if they're affectionate with their mother. I want to know because I'm the same way to me. So I like to hear their speak, and
Hmm.
how well they talk about their mother, or their affections, the affections that they have toward their mother or their sister, or just women in general. I pay attention to that because that is a
Hmm.
clear indication about how they feel about women, how they if they respect the relationships that they have with the women in their lives. That
Hmm.
is very important for women. So it's interesting that you said that you listen to how they talk about the men in their lives. And I think
Hmm.
in that instance, I think men and women are aligned. I think that, responsible men and women we're aligned in that particular thought. The
Yeah.
other
Part of
thing,
that is part of that is from what I'm used to also. I mean, I don't know what life looks like when a woman doesn't speak into me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right?
that's foreign to me. So I mean, because I grew up with it all of my life, I mean, you know how this family is. It Even when it hurt, we're gonna tell you what you need to hear, but it's not coming from a place of anger. It's always
Yeah,
coming from a you can be better, and we expect better. And I mean, it's just anything less than that is foreign to me. So when I hear something that's different than what I'm used to, then I kind of take a step back, and I
yeah,
want to see if that's
evaluate it. Yes.
if it's a thing that can be healed, or is it a thing I need to avoid? You know.
Absolutely. I have two comments. Uh, uh, when you were speaking, Deb said the way they're healing.
Right.
The way
Right.
they're healing.
Right.
Absolutely.
That part.
I mean, we need to know, how are you healing? How are you on your healing journey? Because I need to know if I need to duck out right now. I was like, what step are you in on that healing journey? Because maybe I'll come back when you get a little further along,
That's
or maybe
right.
I'm just gonna duck out altogether, right? So that
That's
that is
right.
that was very powerful. Where are you at How are you healing and where are you at in your healing journey? Mom Shirley Arrington says, why? And this is going to be our final questions that we're going over. The only reason why we're going over because it's so good.
I mean, it is. It's awesome. I don't mind.
But mom says, Shirley Arrington says, why are so many people single for such a long time? Not necessarily by choice. Now that we can answer that, but we're going to touch on that again next week.
Yeah, that's a whole new topic.
because it is, but it's also a phenomenon too. Like what?
Well,
quickly, guys, go ahead.
I look at it like this. Well, you say not by choice or by choice, whatever. Some people are okay with being by themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some people don't need somebody to validate them, or they don't need somebody to be with them for them to be okay. It doesn't mean they're antisocial, doesn't mean they don't like people, but some people just are okay being with themselves. Now, people that are single not by choice, I mean, they might just be horrible people. You know, they might not know they might not know how to approach somebody. You know what I'm saying? They might not know how to hold a decent conversation. They they just might be one of those people that, just not applicable with relationships or being with someone. You know what I mean? It just, you might see a woman that you like, but I was taught as a kid by Shirley Arrington, come to think of it. I was taught that you might like a woman, but the woman does the choosing. You know what I mean? The woman does the choosing. So if you're single and you don't want to be single, maybe you're not choosable. You know, some people might not be choosable. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You might not be able to be in a relationship.
That's good, Anthony Arrington. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That is really good. Before I go to you, to me, so I just want to say something. I want to touch on what he said, and he said that some people are okay with being by themselves. And I saw when he said, as soon as you said that, I thought that I also think that people have been alone so long that they're used to it, and they don't even operate like they want it because they're so used to it.
Yeah.
And so they don't even, when they go outside, even when you go outside, you might not even pick yourself up like you normally would put yourself together. And I'm talking from a woman's standpoint. Because I think the problem is that sometimes we've been alone so long and we haven't been choosing. Like Uncle said, we haven't been choosing. And we don't even carry ourselves in a way that would make someone want to join themselves to us. Because I know that I am a beautiful woman, right?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely. You are.
Arrogancy or anything.
Come on, let us blow your head up real quick. You are a beautiful woman. Go ahead and walk in there.
I know, but you know what, guys? And this is why this is good to have this conversation. But I don't always think that I carry myself like I want to be chosen.
Well, beautiful, but not always pretty.
And I talked about this. We've been talking about this in Being Woman. We talked about this in Being Woman about that. Sometimes we can have a bit of a hard exterior and not necessarily look hard, but we just don't look like we want someone to approach us because I think we've gotten used to being alone so long. And so we can talk about that some more next week, y'all. But you opened up something, Uncle, when you said that. Really opened up further discussion.
No, I heard a woman that I was having a conversation with down here speak on that same thing that you just talked on. She described it as, always being beautiful, but not always feeling pretty. And I think that's where I'm a guy, so I don't know, but she said it, so I'm gonna work with it. I can get that because sometimes she just, she know who she is, but she just don't feel like being bothered sometimes, or she don't feel like she's approachable sometimes,
And I'm
for
gonna tell
whatever
you,
reason.
and you know what? We talked about this, and next week we're going to talk about this a little bit more. We're going to talk about roles because I still believe in roles in relationships. I really do.
Definitely.
And
Absolutely.
I think that when women are outside of their roles, it makes them less available to a man because they're outside of their roles. They're mom and dad, and when you are outside of your role, it makes you least available for the things and the description in your job description as a woman. Do you understand what I'm saying? If my job description is being woman and I am filling the description of being man, then I am less available to be the woman that God intended for me to be.
Absolutely.
Oh,
And
that's
so
can of
Right.
worms you opening up right there.
I believe I might have preached a little bit right there.
Yeah.
But I think that, and some of these roles that we occupying them, and we probably don't need to, but we overdoing stuff too. But that's a whole other story. But I think that we're less available when we are in, occupying other roles because I do believe in roles. But listen, we could go on, and we have gone over a little bit, but it was well worth it. I hope that I can count on you guys again as we further our discussion. Uh,
Absolutely.
as
Absolutely.
as we further our discussion, because this is, these things that we're talking about, it's necessary. I also want to, before we go, when we were doing our pandemic report, we were talking about it so much, but Deb, see, I told you that Deb was a resource. I want you guys to go and follow her at the Community Advocate Network. But she said the current vaccines does not fit the Delta variant. Efficacy drops to about 40%. Booster shots now recommended at 8 months.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
So
thanks,
but
Deb.
that actually tracks with the same as other vaccines. Like if you get a flu shot, you have to get another flu shot later on because there's
Yes.
another flu strain. So that it
Yes.
makes sense, but it is gonna take a lot more research and a lot more explaining and educating to people in order to take hold of that because you see how they dealing with just the first shot.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but that makes
I'm
sense.
sick of
That
I'm
makes a
sick
lot
of
of sense.
all of it. I'm just
I
sick of
am
all of it.
too. I am too.
Yeah.
I am too. Well, thank you all, you guys, so
Thank
much
you for having
for
us.
contributing
Thank
to
you,
this
Nikki.
discussion. I certainly do appreciate it, and I look forward to being able to call on you all in the future. And again, if you are interested, or you've been holding and putting it off, and you need to get you some life insurance, we're going to be posting on Diddly Dewdrops contact information for Demiso Arrington. If you are looking for a new career and you are saying, you know what, I want to make a shift, I want to make a change. What's that website, Demiso?
Wanna work with me.com. WANNA workwithme.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. These are the spots we miss. I am your host, Nikita Nicole, and I look forward to sharing with you again on next week. Thank
Nikki,
you.
before you go, tell them where you got that from. Nikita Nicole. Tell them where you got Nikita Nicole from, though.
You know what? And listen, you know what? You know what? Because I was doing good. I was getting my outro done. I was getting ready to flip my video. Everything. I was doing, I was doing my spew. And here you go. But I'm glad you brought it up. So I am so glad you brought it up. So my mother and my father named came to me, Nikita Nicole Woodley. And as a kid, and I'm talking about I was a kid. I'm talking about a kid.
A kid.
Like I might have been 7 years old, kid. And this one, Anthony Arrington, never called me Nikki. I mean, very seldom, but it was Nikita Nicole. Nikita Nicole, what are you doing, Nikita Nicole? What are you up to, Nikita Nicole? Nikita Nicole. And I, at that tender age, would be like, why is that necessary? You know, as a kid, I would be like, well, why is it necessary for him to do that? Like, I don't see the point. And then, as I got older, I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely loved it. And I got so used to him calling me Nikita Nicole that when I began to do my branding and begin to do things, move in a different direction, you know, with things that I wanted to do, I said, okay, it's Nikita Nicole from here on out.
Yeah.
So Anthony Arrington is responsible for that. Now, can I do my spew? I love y'all. Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all for tuning in.
I love you back.
We had a great hour plus session today. I am your host, Nikita Nicole, and these are the spots we miss.
Hit, they didn't know which way to go. So, you know, if you have the ability to find a good support group, find even one person that you trust, tell them what you need, tell them what you need help with, tell them how you're feeling, and you'd be surprised. They might